What's up guys, what's going on? So you guys already know by the title, this is the anticipated video that we all been waiting for. So TriggaSpec, we've created a catch can setup. I've been hinting and teasing this online for the Q chassis, but we got our TriggaSpec catch can setup right here with our hoses, pretty much the same concept as the ones I made for the 370 and 350s, G37, G35s, but this looks a little bit different. So on the other one, we have the filters kind of more towards the inlets are all here, filters are here. On this one, we switched it up for the Qs and made it like this. We can do anything in-house, comes with the coolant port, everything you need. Old, actually, homie of mine, long-time friend Daniel, with his G37, we did a lot of the oil cooler testing on this car. He's been a long-time supporter, very beautiful G. But yeah, this car has our oil cooler system on it. Thanks as always, Daniel, for working with me. Now we got his girl Yuri's car, which is this Q, and this is exactly the car we need. So this is another beautiful setup right here that we're going to be doing. So any of you guys who has this car, who wants a catch can setup for the Q50s, any pretty much Q chassis with a VHR in it, this will work. So now we can go ahead and pop the hood and we can begin this installation. So when you pop the hood of this Q chassis car, you will first encounter this big plastic shroud, and then you have your cover. So we're going to begin first by taking all this stuff off, so it gives us room to be able to install our catch can setup. All right, so for this step, you're going to want this pry removing tool, and there's also another version of it which looks like this. There's a bunch of these clips in here that you're going to want to remove, and we're talking about these clips right there, but pretty much these guys right here, there's a whole abundance of them you're gonna need to remove. And good practice when you do any installation is get a little tray so you can put all the pieces you take off in it, so then when you go to reinstall stuff, you know exactly where everything is. And if you do break any of these clips, they sell new ones that, like that one. We removed all the clips. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this whole assembly, put it to the side. So now this exposes the front of this car. So we have our can right here, the plastic one from factory. This is where the new one is going to be going as well. Next thing, we need to take this cover off. These are all 10 millimeters. You're going to need to take off and put that aside as well for reinstallation. And just like that, now we have the front of the motor pretty much exposed. So the things we're going to be eliminating in this video, so I'll explain, is our stock PCV. So these hoses that go to the front of the valve cover, these hoses go to the back of the valve cover that feeds the intake. What's wrong with the PCV right now? Due to emissions, the car is required to be like this, so all the blow-by goes from here into the intake manifold and from the back of the valve cover into the intake. Now, what's the problem with this? It makes your throttle bodies very dirty, intake tract very dirty, lots of carbon buildup. Is not the move. That's why you want to get a proper catch can. There is a lot of catch cans on the market. Yeah, advertise they do work, they don't, guys. If it's not set up properly, it's a waste of money. So my thing I always tell every customer, do it right the first time or do it twice and spend twice as much. This is the way to do it correctly the first time with this can. Don't beat around the bush or do the wrong things. Do it correctly one time and get it over with. But all right, next thing we're gonna do is we're actually gonna start taking the intakes off to give us more room, make life easier for us to be able to do this installation. And then the intakes are 2 10s right here. And then take the MAFs out and then take these hose clamps out and you're able to remove the intake. Now when you do remove it, you're gonna need to go in here. There's that barb fitting right there. You're gonna need to unclamp or this to be able to take the intake out. And then same thing with this, disconnect this so you can remove the intake system. All right, and just like that, we got everything off of the car. So you want it to look like this, so you can go ahead and continue installation. Now, in this sake, I'm gonna keep these 2 hoses because if you have stock intakes, this is how you want to route it. If you don't have stock intakes, I'll show you how to do it, but you don't have to worry about it. But for stock intakes, you want to keep those. So we took the intake manifolds off, and those rubber pieces you saw, they're right there. That thing is connected to it, and then it's also connected to that. And then these are your PCV ports in the front that went from the front of the manifold to the front of the PCV port. Now if we look inside the TBs, you guys can see it is a little bit dark, throttle carbon buildup, and that's from that PCV. I bet you inside of the manifold it even looks dirtier. Luckily now we're going to put a can on this car, so this issue will start to fix itself and clean itself up slowly. But yeah, next thing you're going to want to do, so we took the MAFs out. You don't need to unplug them, just have them hanging. There was room. Next thing we're going to do is remove these fittings. Now these fittings are going to use a 5/16 socket, if this camera catches, and This is very easy. You just throw it on and then turn it by hand. That's it. No wrench, nothing needed. Get that out and then remove your stock PCV component. Look how oily that is, which is okay, that's normal. So that's that. Now we're gonna do the same thing to the driver's side. And I'm first disassembling everything so you guys can see, then we'll go ahead and start assembling it all. So again, just hand spin them. This one's very dirty. Throw them in there. Keep all your parts because you never know if you need them. And that's for that. Let's clean this area a little. All right, so that part is done. And the last thing we're gonna do is remove the can itself. We're just gonna take our can, put it here for now. All right, so can is removed. Before we go ahead and install our can now, this coolant hose right here is a little bit close to the can. So for safe practice, you have a few options. You could either use electrical tape or like Tessa tape like I have, or if you have old rubber coolant hoses, you could cut them in half and wrap them around this and zip tie them so it's like a chafing sleeve, but electrical tape will just do fine. So we're going to install that just to make sure this is all nice and wrapped up so it doesn't rub or have any issues with it. Then we can go ahead and install the can into its place and then begin the rest of the install. So that's the tape method, so you guys can see, but like I said, you could always put a rubber hose here too and zip tie it, beat it against, but this is good to go. Now we can throw the can in. So for the can, you're going to want to take it, obviously remove your mouth. You're going to want to take your can, wiggle it in, and there's these two ear tabs. You're going to place them on top first so you can thread in your bolt hole. Hand tie in everything always. Very nice. Now we can go ahead and make this tight. Doesn't need to be crazy. All right, so the can is now installed in place. You guys can see this right here is a little loose, so it moves around, but this right here too is what I was talking about mainly. This touches the can. You just want to wrap it a little bit. Very, very solid, looking good. So next, when we install this, now we can go ahead and start assembling the lines for the can. So in this kit, you're gonna get a variety of stuff. First being, we're gonna start with these. So you guys remember the PCV fittings that we went ahead and removed from the car, which were these. We're going to be replacing them with these TriggaSpec dash 8 fittings. You guys can see it's O-ringed as well. You don't need to do anything crazy, just literally put them in and tie in. Same thing on this side. Go right here, fitting, thread it in. Oh yeah, this doesn't use the 15/16 anymore. This actually uses a 22. So change of fitting, get it tight, and that's it. Same thing here. Tight, and that's it. You don't need to go crazy. Remember when we took it off too, we just took it off by hand, so don't go crazy, guys. All right, so now that that's installed, now we can go ahead and start installing our lines to the front of the can. All right, so the can is going to come with 4 of these hoses, as you guys can see. The 2 shorter ones are for the driver's side, so we have them numbered. We have hose 1, hose 2. Hose 1 goes to front valve cover, hose 2 goes to back valve cover on driver's side. So we're going to be throwing these in now. And remember, guys, you don't need Teflon or anything for this. Hand tighten all the fittings first, then tighten with the wrench. All right, so now that we got hose 1 and 2 installed, we're going to go do the same thing for hose 3 and 4. Get those installed, and then I'll show you guys what to do for the back section. So in your kits, you're going to see 2 of these gold fittings, or 2 of these just barb. These are going to go to line pretty much 4 and 2, which are back valve cover hoses. So you're going to take them and just get these on with a wrench, tighten them. Doesn't need to be crazy, just needs to be tight, and that's it. Next thing you're going to need is 4 of these hose clamps, and as well you're going to want to take these rubber hoses I provided you in the kit. You're going to take it, put this on this end, hose clamp it tight onto this end, and then we're going to hose clamp the other side to the valve cover. And right there you have successfully installed both your passenger side lines. So rubber fitting goes on that, just like that. Very, very nice, looking good. Now we're going to repeat the same step for this side. Same thing, push this guy on, get it nice and tight. Your other hose clamp orientation, that's easy to tighten, and then go ahead and slide that bitch on. So now for the can itself, we got those. Now we're just gonna need to tighten these fittings. He uses a size 23 wrench if you have it, or not, you can use an adjustable wrench, but we're gonna tighten all these down. Remember, don't need to go crazy, guys. Just as long as it's tight, all that matters. Hold the line with your hand so the line don't move. Tighten, nice. tight. Tight. All right, and those are tight. So now everything is tight. So next thing you're gonna want to do, you're gonna need to take this guy off and run it to the bottom of here. And yeah, that would pretty much the setup. And then we have a dripper hose right here that we're going to install as well. So this part, if you guys have done now, you are about 70% of the way there. Very nice. And now next thing we need to do is throw the intakes back in. All right, so driver side intake, if you have a stock intake box, keep this little box on it. I provide you with nipples that you're going to clamp this onto, and pretty much you'll be set. And for passenger side, same ordeal. You're going to cap this off and be good to go. And then in the can you get 2 caps for the manifold as well. But if you don't have stock intakes and you have 3-inch intake, you pretty much cap off the port for the 3-inch intake if it has a port. Most true 3 inches, like my intakes, don't have them because we utilize the can. But if yours does, you're need to cap it. Otherwise you're set to go. You don't need to worry about anything. Just the only thing you will need to do is flip over these 2. You're gonna come in your kit, you're gonna receive them caps that look like this, which you'll receive in your kit. You're just gonna come and slide these guys right on to your intake manifold, and like that, and you're good to go. And you can hose clamp them too if you want. So just like that, we got our manifold nipple capped off, our hoses installed correctly, correct orientation. Now we're gonna cap those guys. So in each of your kits, you're gonna receive 2 of these caps, and that's if your stock intake. Pretty much just like that. Go ahead and squeeze them on. Provide you hose clamps too to hose clamp them up, so you don't have to worry about it. And that's the intake side as well. Tight, and that's it. Now we can go ahead and begin throwing the intakes back into the car. So now intakes are gonna go back in. We have them capped and good to go. First slide throttle body on, and there's a pin at the bottom that you push in, just like that. Our size 10. Now we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. So before filling up the system, you're gonna want to install the catch can side and coolant reservoir bottom caps. All right, now that we got the intakes capped off, we're gonna check it out, make sure everything is installed, can is good, and you're pretty much set to go as long as your setup looks like this. So now it's time to connect the coolant line to the can. Now if you guys notice, on top of the can there's a port coming out of the cap. That's not where this hose is going to connect. You're going to want to tilt up your can like this so the fluid is at the bottom. Disconnect the hose and run the hose from the coolant neck to the bottom of the coolant can, not to the top. The top is the dripper hose. So just like that, we went ahead and removed the hose, connect it from the coolant neck to the bottom of our can. It's a barb fitting, you just push it on. You will be provided some hose clamps to put them on, but no need if you don't because of the barb fitting. So now you're going to want to go ahead and remove your coolant cap on the can and pour your excessive fluid from your old can into the new can. At this point you could add more coolant to the can itself, but don't fully top it off because when coolant gets hot it expands, so if you overfill it, it will drip out. So now in your kits you will all receive a hose like this. This is the dripper hose. As I mentioned before, the hose from the coolant neck goes to the bottom of the catch can. The dripper hose is the hose that will connect to the top of the can where the cap is. This is for excessive pressure. When in the can, it will drip through this hose and drip at the bottom of the car. Now we can begin reinstalling the engine cover. As you guys can see, this kit was designed around the engine cover so the engine cover can fit. If the hoses aren't in your way, you can push them out of the way easily to be able to allow the cover to sit in place correctly. Now that everything's tightened, just like that, we got our cover back on. Very OEM plus look. This is exactly what we go for at TriggaSpec. So of course the mic cropped out. So pretty much the engine cover fits on, as you guys saw at the end of the time lapse. It fits nicely, no cutting needed. Now we're going to go ahead and install our hose separators, and then we're going to give it a start up to check everything, make sure everything is good, and then finish off this section. So just to show you guys with it turning on too, we're going to go ahead and get in here. Oh, so nice and clean in here. So we got the car on. Don't mind the belt squeak it has, but this is how your car you want it to sound. So you're gonna wanna put your hand on the filters, make sure they're breathing on the lines, make sure it's flowing air, everything looks good, no leaks. Dripper hose is set up. Very, very nice. Give it a little sniff test. Good old smell of 91. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Now hose separators, this piece, and then we're good to go. So now your kit's gonna come with these hose separators, 4 of them, that you're gonna wanna put 2 on each side. These little guys. So 2 on each hose. All right, just like that, we got our hose separators installed as well. Give it a nice clean look. This is looking very nice. So now the last thing remains is our plastic. So I'm pretty sure we got to remove all this. We're gonna do that and see. So you're gonna want to, with a drill, there's a bunch of these screws, and you're gonna want to remove all of them in order to be able to mount this guy up. So that skin should come right off, which then should give us perfect room for the can. As I assumed, we are right. So the can is nice and sleek, hid it under there. So now you just bolt these up and there you go. Can is nicely, sleekly under there. And if you wanted to remove it and have it exposed like this, you can. Now I'm not gonna cut this, I'll leave it up to Daniel on how he wants to do it, but you always can with a grinder go and cut it through here to make it that clean look. But this gives you a very like factory OEM style vibe, which is extremely nice. But anyways, that's pretty much what you got to do for this installation. Hopefully you guys like it. So these setups are going to be $675. But now for all you guys who are interested in this kit's going to be $675 plus tax, free shipping. Everything's included in the kit as you saw in the video. Very straight, easy install, and no modifications needed whatsoever. So if you guys are looking to get yourself one, it comes in these different variations of colors. We also have different variation of hose colors that you guys can choose from. Shoot me either a DM on Instagram or an email, or just find us on our website. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you for watching.